Do you sometimes feel like you've lived a million lives? Anybody? Feel like, how can I possibly only be X amount of years old? Because I know I've lived 5,000 years already, and I'm only 43, 45, 47, whatever your age is. Yet we've all been there. And today, what we're going to talk about is emerging from this space into the light. We want to kind of, take that experience of feeling so aged because of so much experience, which actually creates wisdom, so it's a good thing, but it can feel very different when we're going through it, right? And so maybe you're in a space in your life right now where you are like, I feel a million years old. And you need renewal, and you need to figure out how to emerge from that space. You're like, I know I've got things to do. You're super smart, very capable, successful woman. And yet you're feeling that weight of your age, your experience. And somehow directionally, like you got off course, like you got here, you thought this was going to be the thing, only now you need to do something different. And I know because I was you. So I'm speaking right into your heart. If this is you, then hi, my name is Jennifer Zenz Olson, founder of Laughing Lotus Wellness and transformational purpose coach and expert. And what I do is work with women just like you and just like me. I've been there too. And I remember doing this private practice and feeling like I should be excited and enthralled. And at one point I was. At one point it was every single thing to me. And I got partway through the journey and I thought, is this it? Is this my purpose? Because I'm not motivated. I dread Mondays. I pray for Fridays. Somehow I got a space here I was not expecting. And I had to figure out what I was going to do with that. And so what I love to do is help my clients gain clarity around where they've been, how they got there, and then where they want to go, right? We really want to discover where you want to go because your purpose is so much bigger than a job. It's so much bigger than a role. And it takes so many forms throughout our lifespan. And we want to make sure to reconnect that for you, that your success is linked with purpose again, and not just about making money or about doing that hamster wheel journey. And can we keep you where you are? Do we need to make a lane change? That's what we figure out when we work together. And so I love this work. And one of the things that I love thinking about in my journey as a clinical social worker for over 2 decades, I sat with so many people, hundreds of clients that I watched emerge, right? And so emerge really just stands for that energetic momentum as we ease into renewal and growth to expand. And it didn't always feel like gentle renewal. I will tell you, sometimes it felt like a wrecking ball, the work that they had to do. And what I'm going to say to you is that the beauty that came out of my career was the awareness that we are wired with resilience. And I joked a couple logs ago that my middle name is Hope, and it actually is. My middle name is actually Hope. I'm not just using that as some a crack in a joke. That is actually my name. And one of the things that I show up with really clearly for people is that sense of faith and hope that something can be different. That where you are can be different, that how you feel can be different. And it's sort of sometimes like holding a torch in the darkness for people, because we can be really feeling the effects of being in spaces that don't serve us. And so what I really watched and witnessed, this was the beauty, was of all of those clients emerging out of the muck of life, the struggle, the challenge, mental health issues, life issues, just things that, happen for all of us. And their resilience in the way that they did that. And the strength that they gleaned from going through something really hard. That rather than just seeing it as this terrible, awful burden, their mindset of shifting into a space of transformation and seeing that something was happening that grew them. Whether it was their resilience muscles, their soul, their mind, their bodies, whatever it might have been, that they grew from those journeys. And that's really where the idea of the Lotus came and the idea of the rising, right? Because I've witnessed so many people doing that. So I have complete certainty and trust and faith that we can all do this because I've seen it in every single kind of form, in grief, in anxiety, in depression, in big loss, and trauma, and health issues. So if I've seen it in some of the hardest places, I know we can do this. I've had to do the same thing. I've had to practice rising in my own life so many times. And so today we're going to talk about resilience as one of the key components of our journey as human beings, but also in our purpose journey. We're going to need to know how to emerge again and again and again. We're going to need to know how to be resilient, because sometimes things will not go like we'd like, of course, right? We all know this. This is like preaching to the choir. Like, we all know, right? Life isn't just going to be an easy straight line. It's going to have curves. It's going to kick us off into gravel. It's going to feel like we took 9 years through the forest on a dirt road to get back to the highway, right? We're just going to have moments that are going to feel like that. And what I really want you to do is identify how you rise. Today, I really want you to imagine in your mind. If you're a big, I'm super visual. So if you want to close your eyes for this journeying conversation, you can. I invite that in because I love that. It just allows us to kind of go into the mind space. You don't have to see what I'm doing. But imagine for yourself how you rise. If you were a lotus and you were in the muck, right? In that pond water, in that gross murkiness of life, a really terrible and hard, challenging place in your life. How did you come up out of that? What skills and talents do you have? What muscles, the strength, do you carry within your soul that allowed you to come up out of that and be that beautiful bloom again? For me, right? And so I always like, using examples, and I'm going to think about some clients as well. For me, one of the tools is humor. If I'm not using humor to come up out of things, something is seriously broken. That's all I can say, right? So for me, it's finding humor in anything. It can be in the moment, but it can also be something else. Because if I can't quite garner it for what's happening right yet, then I just go to something else, right? I find another place to have that humor. For me, it's meditation. I have a really strong sense of hope. So hope, humor, those are my two foundations. But I use meditation. I use my skills and tools that I've gleaned over my lifespan. And honestly, the stories of so many brilliant people who've done this before me. And sometimes it's a mindset. If they can do it, I can do it. If I know that client, that coaching client, whomever, my loved one that's lived through something so horrendous, and yet they came up out of that murky, dark place into this beautiful area of light and love and being stronger for it, I can do the same thing. And so I love inspirational stories. I have so many people. I have one woman that I know that from years ago had 4 or 5 significant traumas, a couple of them significant health issues, a couple of serious losses, right? Traumatic losses. And she had every reason to shut down. She had every reason to stay in that darkness, to stay in that pond water and kind of just stew in it, because it was so much. I remember hearing a story and just thinking, I don't know how one person can hold this. And one of her most brilliant, resilient skills and tools was her hope. She just wouldn't give up. Her vitality, her radiance wouldn't allow her to stay in that space. And so I witnessed her incredible journey of shedding this stuff, right? That weight, the darkness, the heaviness, the sadness, and come up out of that in so much more peace and stillness. And so those are the kinds of stories that I have been blessed to know in my life, where I've witnessed it over and over again, right? So I know it's there. I trust it. I've seen it. And what I love to do is lend that out. I lend you my faith and my hope, that vision for a different moment, a different time. One of my favorite stories, and then I'll close, I promise, because I'm in a story mode today, was a gentleman I worked with years ago. And he was so depressed. And he really felt like he wanted to die. And he talked to me about it, and I don't know where the hell I ever came up with this idea, but what I said was, tell you what, will you give me 6 months? I don't know what my plan was. Will you give me 6 months? Let's do therapy. Give me 6 months. Will you commit to staying alive for 6 months for me? If I tell you that it's going to be different, if you can borrow my faith, will you give me 6 months? And he said, yes. I said, okay, 6 months, we're going to check back. We're going to see where we're at. We'll figure out what we need to do that, okay? I don't even know what the hell I thought I was going to do in 6 months if he didn't feel a whole bunch better. I don't even know. I just said it. And what's so cool about this story was in 6 months, this gentleman looked at me and I said, it's been 6 months. Can you believe it? And he said, I can't even remember what it was like to feel that way. I am at such a completely different place in my life. It doesn't even look the same. And he was in a deep darkness. That muck for him was big. It felt all-encompassing. And there was no greater gift than watching someone find that light, pull themselves up, emerge out of that space into a completely different experience. And I know how hard he worked. I watched it. I watched him grow and change and try different things on, right? Create new habits, create new mindset, make sense, make meaning of where he'd been. And in 6 months, his life didn't even look the same. And so I come from that space, right? I know it. I've experienced it. I've witnessed it. And I want to give you these stories of hope because I want you to know that there is so much for you in this lifetime. That when we are going through something in that darkness, it can be very hard to know that just above us is something brilliantly radiant, a whole different transformation, a whole different experience of life. And so I just wanted to invite you in to understand and grasp onto that awareness of how you're resilient. Where in your life have you been resilient? What are the skills and tools that you bring? I want you to be so clear that you know exactly what your skills are, what kind of tools you have in your toolbox that help you specifically rise. Because my friend, you are made of light. You are made of the capacity to be resilient. And you just heard a couple of my very favorite client stories of how they did that. And so I know you can too. All right. Here's what I want to invite you to do. In a couple days' time, on April 13th, Wednesday from 7 to 8:30 p.m., I am hosting the Arise, Releasing the Muck webinar. We're going to do some experiential pieces on how to release and let go of things, just like we talked about today. So I invite you to come and spend an evening with me. Get to know me. I want to get to know you. And I want you to have some experience of what it feels like to emerge. And so all you have to do is go to my website, it's laughinglotuswellness.com/webinar. laughinglotuswellness.com/webinar. And it's free, cost you nothing. All I need is your email. All I need is your email so I can send you a link. Come and spend an evening with me. Experience what it feels like energetically to move from that muck up into the light, to have an experience of something different so that you too know you have the capacity to rise. And not just believe me and my word, but take that in and really have your own experience. So my friends, this is Jen with Laughing Lotus, sending you blessings, love, and light on your journey as you rise on your path to purpose. Until next time.